Hi all, this is Johnny Crass. We're gonna do something a little bit different this week. I'm gonna do a couple part series, and this might become a main thing that with once an army book's been out long enough, I'll do it. Um, but we're going to do a unit by unit review of an army book. This week, I think I'm going to do Empire just because I'm really feeling the Empire bug right now. I've been painting a lot of Empire. I've been working on my Empire. So I'm just really feeling talking about Empire. I talked a little bit with the Sustainable Center about Empire during our live chat. And I just feel like going on with it. So what we're going to do is we are going to do the Lord choices for the Empire Army book. So we got some pretty pictures here, and all right, we're here for Lords. So first off, we have Karl Franz. I was debating doing special characters, but I think I'll just go over special characters really quickly. He has an okay stat line. He's like a human character, so no strength 5, no toughness 5. He has initiative 6, which is something. His main two boons are that he is leadership 10, and he gives a boosted inspiring presence range. So when he's on foot or on a mount, it's 18 inches, and when he's on a large target, it goes up to 24, which is pretty good. The one problem I have with him is he does not have a great save, so he's kind of squishy, and he's expensive, and all he does is provide some leadership. Kurt Helborg, he's once again another special character where you really want him to be good. He looks like he has a combat character stat line, but once again, no ward save, strength 4, toughness 4, and really expensive. He's just gonna end up getting punched in the face. Balthazar Gelt, he's your wizard lord. He's actually really good in the current meta because he's a lore master on metal. He's monstrous cav, but he can get a lookout sir, 4-up lookout sir from Demigryphs if the unit's big enough. So he's actually fairly solid. I see him being the most viable out of the Empire special characters. Definitely worth a look. He's actually not bad for his price. Volkmir the Grim. He's just an art collector, except he's a really fragile art collector who almost always has to be mounted on a war altar. So not really worth your time. Then there's Marius Leitdorf. He's a lot of fun just because he's like really crazy. He can do some really cool things, but he can't be relied on to do really cool things. So once again, human stat line, not really combative. My problem with the Empire book is they have one of the best magic weapons in the game and don't have the stat line to use it. But I'll probably get into that in like a summary or something. We have General of the Empire. Really basic stat line. Weapon skill 5. His main thing is leadership 9, but a lot of the Empire lords have leadership 9. He has hold the line special rules, so you're taking break tests on 3-6. But he's also really cheap. That's one of his only real saving graces. He can be a jack of all trades and all that, but I don't know. He's not someone that you want on the front lines, really. And the only reason you take him is if you're on a budget for lords. And you want the leadership 9, of course. Next, we're on to wizard lords. And if you see me skipping over the mount options, it's really because besides a barded warhorse, most of the mount options are kind of garbage. Though that's going to change here in a second. Battle Wizard Lord. He's your basic Wizard Lord. Strength 3, Toughness 4, Leadership 8. He can choose from any lore of magic. You can ride a bunch of things, but they all kind of suck. Yeah, he's really basic. He's pretty cheap also. Definitely an include for most 2000 plus point lists. Then my absolute favorite of the lords is the Arc Lector. He has an absolute garbage stat line, fours across the board, pretty much. But he has battle prayers, which are pretty fantastic. It's rerolls to wound in close combat, 5 up ward save in close combat, and flaming attacks in close combat. All cast on a 3 up, and they're innate bound spells, so nothing bad happens if you miscast them. He also gives hatred to the unit he's joined, which is pretty good. But he really comes to his own with the mount. The mount is the War Altar of Sigmar, and it is really cheap for a mount that comes with a 4 up ward save. But then in addition to that, any unit within 6 inches of the War Altar of Sigmar has hatred, which, because it says unit, applies to mounts. So you can give a Demigryph hatred, which is really strong. In addition, it bubbles all his prayers to affect any unit within 6 inches. So it becomes, he becomes a support unit. In addition to all of that, the War Altar makes him a large target. So you have a 18-inch leadership 9 bubble. So he is just fantastic. He is cheap. He can be fighty if you need him to be. I mean, he's not the best at fighting, but he's still mounted on a chariot at the end of the day. So he is just a fantastic support character who can also be your army general, give the leadership, stay out of the fight, and as long as like you're not running against another Empire list with 3 cannons, he should be pretty okay for surviving. Death snipes might cause him a problem or two, but yeah. And then the final one is the Grandmaster. He's your guy if you want to do the mounted army. He can't choose to be on foot. He gives immune to psychology to whatever unit he joins. He comes out really defensive, just like right out of the box. He's got a 2 up armor save right out of the box, so that leaves you a lot of room to mess around with him having combat, more combat stuff. So I don't know. I like him, but I don't run any cavalry, any basic cavalry in my Empire army. So yeah, I don't really have a use for him. I'd like him a lot more if he could be mounted on a Demigryph, but most Empire players you'll talk to say that. On to mounts real fast. We have the Imperial Griffin. It's your basic Griffin, move 6, weapon skill 5, strength 6, toughness 5. It's a monster, flies, causes terror, large target. No save, so a cannon is just going to punch it in the face, sadly. Because it's a great model. I own one. I love my Griffin. But at the end of the day, cannon's just going to walk up and punch your Griffin in the face. Imperial Pegasus is just fantastic. If you play Bretonnia or Dark Elves, you know how good a Pegasus is. It makes you monstrous cav, and with Demigryphs in the book, you can actually get a lookout, sir, which is pretty nice. Then there's the Imperial Dragon. Now, before you get all excited that Empire can have a dragon, only Karl Franz can ride the dragon, which makes me pretty disappointed. And it's kind of your basic run-of-the-mill. It's a moon dragon. Plain and simple, it's a Moondragon. Then there's the Mechanical Steed. The Engineer can have that. It's garbage. Absolute, complete garbage. And then the Warhorse is your basic Warhorse. And then, of course, the War Altar of Sigmar with all its special rules. War Altar of Sigmar also makes him stubborn, I forgot to tell you, which is really nice. Alright, we'll just go on to heroes because this video is pretty short so far. Ludwig, I'm not even going to pronounce his last name. He's your mounted BSB special character. He's alright. Something odd I found with him is he doesn't have the hold the line special rule. So he's supposed to be the inspiring banner bearer of the Empire, and he doesn't even let you take your break chest on 3-6, which is really disappointing. Luther Huss, the badass of Sigmar, really, really friggin' cheap for what he does. He's mounted on a Barded Warhorse. He's got, he's really good. He can invoke the power of Sigmar, which boosts a bunch of his stats by D3 for a turn. He knows an additional battle prayer, which gives stubborn to his unit. I really wish I could mount him on a War Altar. Also, he's one of the few special characters who comes with a ward save, a 4-up ward, which is really good for his points. He is definitely another one of the Empire characters that you'd take. Marcus Wolfheart, Hunts Marshal of the Empire. He's a bro who just is overpriced and runs around and shoots monsters with little piddly arrows. Not much more to him. And he can upgrade huntsmen in your army to his huntsman, but it doesn't do much for them. Then we got your captain, basic run-of-the-mill Empire character. Good stat line. He has hold the line. He has more equipment options than God. Really, really dirt cheap. He can be your battle standard bearer, which is probably the only reason you're taking him, unless he's flying around on a Pegasus, because he's actually decent on a Pegasus. He's not bad. He's the reason I think you don't see the General of the Empire played much, because he's, besides the pip of leadership and a wound, he's pretty much the same deal. Going over Battle Wizard Lord, or Battle Wizard, sorry. Same thing as your Battle Wizard Lord, except the hero version, so you know what a wizard does. Warrior Priest, baby art collector, can't be mounted on a War Altar, but pretty much the same thing, same concept, prayers, unit buffing, hatred, blah blah blah. He's also pretty cheap. Another thing I should mention about art collectors and warrior priests is they can channel, which is pretty big. I mean, it's not as big as it used to be. I played Empire back when they were just Dispel dice. But now they can channel on both the Dispel and Power phase, which is pretty solid. Master Engineer. If you've ever played Chaos Dwarves, Dwarves, or Empire, you know what an Engineer does. He gives rerolls to a chosen artillery piece within 3 inches. But also he can give his ballistic skill, which is pretty solid for a Hellblaster. He gets a Lookout Sir for being near war machines, though if there's a cannonball shooting at him, I'm not going to be taking that Lookout Sir, because I'd rather the cannonball shoot him than shoot my war machine itself. He's also fairly cheap. He can now get magic items. Why would you give them to him? I don't know. But he's not bad. He's cheap. I just never really, and he has a ton of equipment options that I'll never use. It's not worth giving him equipment. And then pretty much my favorite character in the entire game is the Witch Hunter. Here's why. A, he is ridiculously cheap. Like, he is insanely good for his point cost. He gives his unit Magic Res 2, so right away, walking around with a 35-point item for pretty much free. Then he gives his unit, he subtracts, terror goes down to fear, and fear goes down to nothing against his unit. He just minuses, brings down the fear level by 1, which is another great ability. Then he has a rule called accusation, or at the beginning of the game, you choose one enemy model. I think it's model. It might be enemy character. I don't remember. But he gains a killing blow against it in both range and close combat. He can reroll to hit against it. And he gains sniper against it. In addition, if they're undead, a wizard, or a demon, he can reroll to wound. So he is just fantastic. He can take a brace of pistols. So 2 shots, hitting on 6s because of range, sniper, 2 fire. But he can reroll to hit, and then he killing blows on a 6. He is fantastic for his points. All I normally give mine is the Always Strikes First sword, and that's really all he needs. He just hangs out as kind of a bodyguard, chooses someone I want to kill, and hopefully kills them with the ASF sword. And if he dies, he dies. He's only like 80 points. So that's just kind of a brief rundown of the Empire characters and such. Hopefully this video will get good reviews. This is something new I'm trying. If you don't like it, and if you don't want me to continue, I just won't. But if you do like this idea, please let me know. I'm probably going to do the Empire book, and then maybe the Warriors, though I don't think Warriors has been out long enough. So maybe I'll take suggestions for the next book to do. Alright. Until next time, this is Johnny Crass. By the way, we are almost at 200 subscribers, and I do have a special treat for you guys. So tell your friends. We just need 5 more people. And yeah, see y'all later.